But when I started working at the grassroots, I saw several children working in weaving looms, inhaling cotton dust. When it came to waste also, like the way waste was handled, poor people used to be affected when it was floods or any other calamity for that matter. The children have a lot of trauma when they work because they get beaten up, wages are meager, and not a pleasant situation. So, like if you go tell the families, send your children to school, nobody is going to listen because these children were bringing some income. With all this, we are able to provide employment to nearly 14,500 people in India, and we have reached out to nearly 32 lakh clients. But when we started working with children, there was no curriculum for out-of-school children or child laborers. So if you look at income, we miss out on many things. Similarly, when we launched our microcredit program, after 3-4 months, there was a dip in repayment. Then we realized chikungunya was a major problem. So we had to work on advocacy when we work with the poor families.
Hi, in today's podcast, we have with us Dr. Kalpana Sankar, a visionary leader, a nuclear physicist turned social entrepreneur, managing director of Wellstar, a microfinance company, and the author of the book, The Scientist Entrepreneur, Empowering Millions of Women, a subject very close to my heart. Dr. Kalpana's journey in co-founding Hand in Hand India and scaling it to empower millions of women globally is incredibly inspiring. The story speaks to the power of resilience, creativity, empathy, and a new book offers a blueprint for anyone looking to dive and drive into social change. She is the recipient of the prestigious Nari Shakti Purashkar, and we are not surprised, Bal Kalyan Puraskar, and the inaugural Princess Sabika bint Ibrahim Al Khalifa Global Award for Women's Empowerment from the Kingdom of Bahrain. So many things, Kalpana. How do you manage it all, and how did you write the book? Where did you get the time? Tell me all about the inspiration behind writing Scientist Entrepreneur Empowering Millions of Women.
Many thanks for giving me this opportunity. My career has been quite unique. I started off as a scientist, then I worked for the government. I specialized in development sector for nearly 10 years. Then I scaled up hand in hand. It was a small NGO with about 3 people. I not only managed to scale up in India across 17 states, but also in 10 other countries, acquired the Wellstar. So with all this, we are able to provide employment to nearly 14,500 people in India, and we have reached out to nearly 32 lakh clients. So I felt women, youth, policymakers will be inspired by this story, and that was the reason I wanted to document my autobiography.
How amazing. Of course, it needs to be documented to inspire so many people across, who want to do something, but they don't know how to start. So let's talk a little bit about the beginning of Hand in Hand, which is quite humble, right? With just a very small room in Kanchipuram. So can you just take us back into those early days and what motivated you to start this journey? There must have been some turning point in your life when you began Hand in Hand. Tell me all about it, Kalpana.
I was working for the government for 10 years. So there I got an opportunity to learn about the functioning of World Bank, Planning Commission, how policy papers are prepared, about monitoring of NGOs. I wanted a grassroots perspective. That's why I took up this job. And the address of the where the interview was scheduled actually fascinated me. They said interview with Percy Barnabik will be held at Emma House. So I thought something like a castle will be there, but it was less than 500 square foot. It was a residence cum office building. First hand, when you work for the government, you get generally positive reports. You really don't get to see the negative side of things. But when I started working at the grassroots, I saw several children working in weaving looms, inhaling cotton dust. In the school records, they would show it as enrollment, but they would take 3 months or 4 months off during seasons and work with the parents. And I saw self-help group women also borrowing from the money lenders at serious rate. This was an opportunity to actually make a change, because if you do something, immediately you can see the impact. And I had a donor who was willing to fund the initial stages and experiment. And he allowed me to experiment with whatever I believe. So that was the beginning of Hand in Hand. And once it reached a certain stage, there was no looking back. I felt very happy with the changes that we were able to make at the ground level.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely inspiring. Your book actually discusses the initial struggles in tackling multidimensional poverty, which is such a deep subject. How did you approach these really complex challenges? How did you go about it, Kalpana?
Because all that started only when I started working at the grassroots. When we work for the government and design schemes, generally income is decided as a main, because for them also to come up with schemes, they have to have some baseline. So income is given a lot of importance. But when we started working with children, there was no curriculum for out of school children or child laborers. So if you look at income, we miss out on many things. Similarly, when we launched our microcredit program, after 3-4 months, there was a dip in repayment. Then we realized chikungunya was a major problem. So we had to work on advocacy when we work with the poor families. Similarly, people doing the same traditional enterprise without any skill upgradation, increase in income was marginal. So skill training and even access to digital technology. So all that had to be embedded in the program. When it came to waste also, like the way waste was handled, poor people used to be affected when it was floods or any other calamity for that matter. And access to water and sanitation, never thought that will have so much of bearing on women. So spending 3 or 4 hours for fetching water, and then the productivity. So the children used to go late to school. So it's a vicious cycle. So we felt we could do a meaningful program if we take into account the multidimensional approach to tackle poverty. And we believed that we should not replicate whatever government was doing, but rather fill up the gaps so as to create a value as an NGO.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Hand in Hand addresses poverty through what we call the 5 pillars. Now, just for our listeners and for our viewers, just explain to us what does these 5 pillars mean and how do they work together to uplift communities?
Well, thank you. I started off my work in the child labor space. I was actually appointed for bringing back the children back to from work to school. Then you realize after some time poverty is a causal factor. Unless you work with the parents and the communities, you can't bring about a change, because child is really helpless. They are not in a decision making stage. They are pushed to that labor or whatever it is, and labor was available 24/7. So when we started working with child labor, I came into contact with MV Foundation, another reputed NGO working out of Andhra Pradesh. So they said that we have to have residential schools so as to give them the confidence. The children have a lot of trauma when they work because they get beaten up, wages are meager, and not a pleasant situation. So we started working with children in the residential schools. We used to prepare them to join the government schools. So then we realized we must do something. Like if you go tell the families, send your children to school, nobody is going to listen, because these children were bringing some income. So we felt we should empower the mothers to earn more, so that with that increase in income, it will be easy for us to convince the parents to send the children to school. So child labor pillar was the first pillar, where we focused on mobilizing children who were out of school, bonded laborers, and then we focused on improving their education standards so that they became ready for admission in government schools. In addition, we also in select government schools focusing on slow learners to improve the quality of education attainment. We have different scientific methodologies developed over a period of time to assess the improvement in learning outcomes. We have partnered with several institutions to develop curriculum for these slow learners as well as for out of school children. Then the next pillar, because we felt like they have to have an extra income, we started working with the mothers of child laborers. It was a very moving situation. Like I came across a machine called Jacquard. If they use the Jacquard, the justification which they used to give for employing children was children, their hands are nimble, for a particular silk called Pora silk, they need children to work. But the jacquard can do the same work as children. But the cost of a jacquard in those days, in 2004, it used to be around 6,000 rupees. Nobody was willing to fund them. That is why we started off with the microcredit. They were traditional weavers. So we said we will give you 6,000 rupees loan at 12 to 13% interest. Very, very reasonable interest. So many people came forward to expand their business, to get such machines. So, and that microcredit was a turning point. When it gave credit at an affordable price, they started diversifying their enterprises. So with the extra income, the family was able to send the children to school. So that was the second pillar. And then we felt that there was so much of power when we empowered the women. Women were able to influence not only the family members, but also the communities. More so, empowering a woman, once she's empowered, she's also able to with the spare money, she's able to focus on education of children, sanitation, other pressing issues of the family. So we scaled up this initiative across India, 17 states. And that's how currently we have a clientele of 32 lakh women. Through them, we are actually impacting if you take a family size of 5, or that is the number of people you can impact through the self-help group program. As I said, health is also a very crucial program when we work with the poor people. Here we do work with focus on women and children, focus on issues like malnourishment, anemia prevention, prevention of maternal mortality, IMR. We do in partnership with the government. We have created state-of-the-art, if you see, so ICNU at Tellar. It's in a government hospital. It is as per the UNICEF standards. We would have saved nearly 1,000 babies by establishing that center. And through Ford, we established another hospital in Kalpana and Hills, where the tribals were living. Doctors had to trek for 4 hours. So doctors could not reach the place. Through telemedicine, in partnership with IIT, we could take such facilities even to tribals and remote areas. That is about the health initiative. Fourth is skill development, because as I said, skill development is very necessary for an increase in income. So we offer nearly 41 type of trades. It depends upon as per the NSDC standards. Around E&Y did a review of our skill training program, and they said 60 to 70% are employable after training with hand in hand. So it depends upon the literacy level, the geography. That's how we customize the skill training. And in addition, we also focus on digital training, because it's very important. Now our women are able to transact through Google Pay, through all the API that is available. And even they're able to do business in a big way, because for them to produce as well as to market was a very big challenge. Through online marketing, it has been a game changer for women. So that is what we have done through the skill training program. We focus on women, farmers, and youth. Last but not least is environment, because we used to get a lot of donors. They used to ask, why is your country so dirty? So we wanted to focus on waste management. At one point in time, we handled a waste of 600,000 households. We believe that we can do it in a scientific way in terms of collection of waste, segregation, and recycling. We created very good models for the government. We got award for our facility in Mamallapuram as well as Karaikal. We work with the local governments, and we've established very good facilities. Now we have handed it over to the government. So they can upscale that initiative anywhere across the country. And last, we also focus on natural resource management, because in partnership with NABARD, we have a 1.4 billion population, and farmers are an important section of people. To prevent food scarcity, we have to work with them. We form farmers produce organization. We also give them technical expertise so that there's improvement in the cropping pattern, and ultimately they should get increased income. They have to continue farm. That's what we try to do through the 5-pillar program. And we have adopted nearly 540 villages, where we try to combine and the synergy of all the 5 pillars. We are able to see the children going to school, government institutions well kept, Anganwadis renovated, and clean water um, and waste management. At least we, because it's a local government initiative, we at least do a lot of activities on advocacy, and around 200 and 250 women in those villages doing some productive activity and coming into the positive cycle. This is the impact of the 5 pillar program.
It's huge, Kalpana.
Yeah.
It's huge. My God. I mean, I was just trying to soak in the entire thing that you were telling me. This must have been really a lot of hard work. Where is that motivation coming from, Kalpana?
In the initial stage, when Percy Panvik is, I can compare him with the billionaires in India. He was very rich. Just like that, if he was impressed with the project, he will immediately give me a check. I felt that we should make use of this God-given opportunity to help poor people. And because my husband, he was working for the government, I have seen the problems faced by the poor people and how NGOs as catalysts can bring about a change. So that was the reason.
Amazing, amazing. Your book also has a chapter titled Creative Institution Building. So, can you share a story about how creativity has played a role, or on in your other initiatives, how did this come into play?
Yeah, because you have to be innovative to stay on the top, and to also for people, whether it is investors or donors, to be interested in. So I believe that every time, hand in hand, we used to do something unique in partnership with Renault Nissan. ASI, local state government and central government, we have created the first green heritage project at Mamallapuram. You should come and see it sometime. It's, yeah, because using solar, we have managed to do it. So it was when hand in hand, when I joined, there were about 3 full-time people, couple of part-time people, no FCRA license. So as a fallback mechanism, I established another trust, because through the 2 trusts, we implement the 5 pillar program. Then the Swedish entrepreneurs were interested in buying the toys made by our SHG women. So we needed an organization for exporting the goods made by our SHG women. So we established Helping Hand Trust, which caters to export of. So everything is linked to hand in hand, but and benefiting the same target communities. Similarly, as a trust lending to the poor women, there was a challenge because banks were not so forthcoming, because in a trust you can't fix accountability, and so we could not provide timely credit. We used to train them, and then they had to wait for 3 to 4 months for credit. That's why we acquired Bellstar, and we were able to scale it up to 10,000 crore book, and we are catering to 32 lakh clients through Bellstar. So one thing, all the institutions are working in synergy with the same objective of tackling poverty and creating jobs for the underprivileged. And waste management, as I was telling you, we were handling the waste of 600,000 households. So when it reached scale, we hived it off into a separate entity which is specialized. So they're able to scale it up because the key resources who are trained, they move into managerial positions and they manage the entity. So that's how we have been going about.
My God, amazing, amazing, Kalpana. Kalpana, Hand in Hand has expanded to 18 states in India and has a presence in countries worldwide. So, what would you say, to the secret of scaling this model so effectively? Can you just share 1 or 2 tips, with our listeners? I'm looking up to you to scale like the way you have. Unbelievable.
Very risk taking and daring. That's what I would say about myself. Because to start a project in Afghanistan or Brazil, I never had any insurance. I was never worried about myself. So any opportunity which came my way, I felt we should do something.
Tell me about Afghanistan, Kalpana.
Yeah, because after that was Percy Barnavik's contact. After establishing hand in hand, and when it reached a certain level, he was in the South African Advisory Council member, and then he knew the president of Afghanistan, Mohammad Karzai. So immediately he actually presented hand in hand, and they wanted us our services. So Ministry of External Affairs funded our initiative in Afghanistan. 7 or 8 exposure visits we had. So the entire drafting the entire the articles of association for hand in Afghanistan was done by me. And then we established a team, and an Indian women, actually, she was trained. She went and headed the project, and it was a very successful project. The World Bank took learnings from the Hand in Hand initiative, and they scaled it up to other provinces. We focused on Mazari Sharif. That was a very, very unique experience. And then ultimately, when you start working in other countries, you realize problems of both women are similar.
Right.
And whatever the experience you have, if it is meaningful to them, we should be willing to share. And basically, if the assessment governance should be proper, whenever we want to establish in a new state or any country, the formula is simple. You have to be very committed and passionate. We have to have the buy-in of the local stakeholders. So a lot of time we have to spend at the ground level and doing research with the secondary data available, presenting your findings to several stakeholders and getting it validated, and then planning the intervention along with the local communities. Then you can be successful, whether it is within India or outside of India. I think our team has been amazing, and it is the capability of the team that has brought us such wonderful results. And I got trained as a monitoring and evaluation officer. So the baseline assessment is very crucial. Even the midline, if something goes wrong, we should be able to fix the problem. I think periodic assessments also help you to scale up in an effective way and create it.
Amazing. So let's talk a little bit about microfinance. You know, it is a very effective tool for change. So you founded several organizations, including Bellstar Microfinance. So how did Bellstar really help in empowering women, specifically in microfinance?
So we have about 32 lakh clients currently, and in the initial stages in 2004, I would say around 70% of them who joined the groups were illiterate. Today, if you come to Tamil Nadu, I can assemble 5,000 women. Their children are doctors, engineers. So they were illiterates using thumb impression and writing a few letters. Now their children, they have moved from ultra poor or poor status to a lower middle class. So that makes you very happy. So microfinance, if it is combined with training, only credit cannot bring about such a change. You have to invest in skill training, digital training, work with them so that there is an increase in income. If there is an increase in income, they are able to afford the microfinance credit. Without that, if they tend to consume, then it is a problem. We also got two major projects. One was with Vodafone, where we trained 50,000 women to use a mobile for transaction. That was a game changer. They were able to transact through mobile phone. That was in 2010 or 12, I don't remember. But so that really helped them in a very big way. And the project was with ADB, where they gave us funding for creating energy-based enterprises. That project also was a game changer for women because it helped them to reduce their drudgery. We introduced machines so that they could produce more. So the productivity improved, their drudgery got reduced, improved their mobility and confidence. So like if you combine such projects and also give microcredit, it brings about a lot of impact. We have seen increase in income to the tune of 30 to 70% in states. But for all that, we need donor funding also. So only microcredit, the impact will be marginal. If it is combined with specialized interventions, then we can see a lot of impact.
So you also mentioned sharpening the saw in your book, right?
Yeah.
It's a concept associated with a lifelong learning and self-development, which I completely agree with you that, till your last day you're learning. So how have you personally embraced, how have you personally embraced this philosophy of sharpening the saw, which I, as an entrepreneur, I'll tell you that every day there's a new learning that we have, every interaction that we learn. So tell me a little bit about you, Kalpana.
I think for us to stay relevant and also to come, when you have such a big team, to be respected by your team, you have to be on the top. And things are so dynamic.
Yes.
Even whether it is social sector in 2004 to 2024, a lot of things have changed. Even in business, like you have to be on the top. So I think basically we have the basic talent. Otherwise, we would not have been. We've not come to this extent, but to continue the journey, we have to keep learning. My first exposure was with INSEAD, where like a lot of social norms I got validated for me, or I console myself. It's okay if I don't cook all the time, if I don't spend so much of quality time, because seeing my friends in France and other places, they were only talking about their career. Nobody was even making phone calls to check whether everything was okay at home, whether they had food like that. Because basically we are social conditioning, we are trained, brought up in a particular way. So these exposure visits are very helpful. And when I wanted to dive deeper into microfinance, I felt I needed a course. So I underwent a bolder training, which helped me in understanding the commercialization of microfinance, and also Harvard. All that was on scholarship. I wish I could not have afforded it. Harvard also gave a leadership training for microfinance leaders. So that was also very helpful. So when to handle a crisis, like not to be perturbed, but to consult the team and come up with the right solution. And when Bellstar and Hand in Hand, when I acquired Bellstar and when Hand in Hand had reached a particular stage, Hand in Hand was a case study of LSE. It was being taught, and I used to defend the case study. And my professors were impressed with me. They offered me a 2-year scholarship to pursue my MBA. I think that was the biggest turning point in my life, because that made me very I was sitting among 64 other CFOs, CEOs of multinational companies. I was the only person from the social sector, but to plan big, and also financial assessment processes, controls, all that I learned only as a part of my MBA program. And I also got selected for East West Center. It was completely a women cohort program where they give you leadership skills. So there, my professors were too good, very accomplished and very simple people. Till date, I maintained. I went in the year 2009 for the program. Till date, I maintained relationship with them. So I think these experiences help you to manage during COVID. All that you need a lot of courage, especially to manage crisis. And whatever women does, it gets whether good or bad, it gets a lot of media attention. So and it gets blown out of proportion, I think. So to balance all that, I think these training programs have been very helpful, and also to stay grounded, to be relevant, to come up with something like we should know how to address the pressing needs of the society as a not-for-profit. We should offer relevant products as when you're dealing with microfinance company. That's what I've learned through all these experiences. And during COVID also, I attended a course with competent boards, basically on ESG, because I feel now climate change is a very important thing, and all of us should be aware, and we should do our bit to get all our programs and projects aligned so that we are conscious about our environment.
Fantastic. Absolutely. So you've also, apart from Afghanistan, there's also, Hand in Hand has done work in countries like Cambodia and Brazil. All of them must have been huge challenges. So share with us one challenge. Come on, it may not be all so easy as you make it sound, Kalpana. Tell us about a challenge so that we also feel like, that there is a human part of you that remembers a challenge, because, this sounds so strong.
By South Africa package. First few, it is very important to get the support of the local communities. It's not that all the time they will be interested. So when we taking such a long flight, and then food habits are so different. And the nights I used to only have finger chips because nothing else, vegetarian dishes, those days it was just not available. After that, when you go to the training program, nobody will listen to you. They'll be putting nail polish or something. So you can't lose your cool. That is one important lesson. And any person, whether it is within be it our community or outside of India also, to get them to listen to you takes a lot of time. You have to be patient and you have to work your way through. And then after some time, after South Africa was my first experience. Then the key lesson what I learned was we should speak this same language. We should talk about what interests them. Like they are very interested about food. Like we should know what their interests are. So in Brazil, we always spoke about football. We so about the recent matches and all. So then they felt okay. These people also share similar interests. That's how we actually it needs a lot of perseverance and patience. But ultimately, through if you have the right processes and approach, you can convince people.
So, the book Scientist Entrepreneur is more than an autobiography for all our listeners. It's also a call to action. What message do you hope readers take away from the book, The Scientist Entrepreneur?
India, we have such a big population. The rich-poor divide is increasing. Although government is doing all what is possible in terms of legislation, policies, I think as citizens, we should also do our to make the quality of life better for the less fortunate ones. In whatever sphere we are interested, maybe in the area of education, it can be in the area of women's empowerment or environment. I feel as citizens, we should not leave everything to government, but do our bit to make the quality of life for poor people better. So that is a message I want to convey through the book.
What does the future hold for you? And are there any new projects that are there in the horizon that you'd like to share with our listeners?
As a person, I would like to share my knowledge because a lot of people get in touch with me, ask for my expertise to validate their business plan. I'm also serving on global boards to pass on my knowledge. That will be my prime area of focus to share my experience and mentor other social entrepreneurs. As far as my career is concerned, right now my focus on Bellstar. Microfinance sector currently is going through a lot of struggle. So we have to be innovative, come up with new products, and also change our methodology so as to target the clients more effectively and be a very responsible, socially responsible and ethical MFI. So focus will be on developing the relevant products for Bellstar and also ESG compliance. That will be my focus for Bellstar. Hand in hand, we are very much passionate about education. Wherever there is an opportunity, we are working with children in mica mines in Bihar and Jharkhand. So, and also with children in Sivakasi. There are new areas where such funding is available. We would like to take up our expertise. And climate change and women's empowerment, always it's a very close to our heart. So we will pursue any projects which come.
Thank you so much, Kalpana, for being on the podcast today. And we wish you all the luck with all the amazing work that you do. And just for listeners, this was Dr. Kalpana Sankar, a visionary leader, nuclear physicist, and social entrepreneur. Thank you for taking all the time.
It was so enjoyable talking to you. And thank you so much for your time.